Hello and welcome to Maths with Jacob. This lesson will focus on division into a given ratio worksheets. So this video has a few slides giving us some worksheets on dividing a certain quantity into two or more parts, depending on how many ratios are involved. Now, there was a lesson on this earlier, so if you can't remember how to do this, on the last slide in this video there is a link. Just click on that link and that will take you to the lesson. So very briefly, these are the problems. Solve each of the following. Number 1, divide 24 cards in the ratio 5:7. Divide 36 pens in the ratio 2:7. Divide 48 cakes in the ratio 3:5:8. Divide $60 in the ratio 1:3:11. Divide 72 stamps in the ratio 1:3:5. Divide 84 pencils in the ratio 1:2:4. Divide 28 cards in the ratio 1:2:4. Divide 40 pens in the ratio 1:3:4. Divide 70 cakes in the ratio 2:3:5. Divide $90 in the ratio 2:5:11. Divide 96 stamps in the ratio 1:7:8. And divide $84 in the ratio 2:3:7. Let's have a look at the next slide. So here we have a few worded problems. You have to read the problem carefully. That's the secret with problem solving. You have to read the problem to understand what is it that the problem is asking. That's really important. So solve each of the following. Concrete is mixed with sand, gravel and cement in the ratio 4:3:2. If 108 kilograms of concrete was mixed, how much sand, gravel and cement was used? So this is quite basic. What you're doing, you're just dividing 108 in those three ratios. Number 2, a special colouring was made by mixing the colours red, white and yellow in the ratio 2:5:9. If 64 litres of paint was made, how much of each colour was used? The same thing. We're dividing 64 litres into those three ratios. So that'll tell you what each part will be if you go through the process. This is a very interesting one because look at the way the ratios look here. Now, what we need to do, just a little hint, we have to simplify each of these. So the final ratio we have, each part is a whole number. Now there has been a lesson on this, so think about how this is done. Each of those has to be changed into a whole number, so that's simplifying the ratio. A special colouring was made by mixing the colours blue, pink and green in the ratio 1/4, 1/3 and 1/2. If 65 litres of paint was made, how much of each colour was used? This is similar to this one. You have to simplify each of these so we have a whole number for each one. Then it's very straightforward. A special soil mixture was made by mixing sand, compost and mulch in the ratio 2/3, 3/4 and 1/5. If 194 kilograms of soil was made, how much sand, compost and mulch was used? So this is very similar again. You have to simplify the ratios so that each of them is a whole number, and then you just go through the normal process. So this video has given us some slides where we can practice dividing a given quantity out into two or more parts. And the principle for each one is the same. The only difference is when you have fractions, you have to make sure that the ratios are converted to whole numbers.